Hello and welcome to Off the Fence, a podcast where we deconstruct difficult decision making to try to figure out what keeps us stuck, and more importantly, how do we get unstuck? I'm your host, Karen Covey, a former divorce lawyer, mediator, and arbitrator turned coach, author, and entrepreneur. With me today, I have a very special guest who is the only person I have ever interviewed twice on this podcast so far. So that shows you how amazing she is. We're talking with Jackie Pilossoph. Jackie is the creator and editor-in-chief of Divorced Girls Smiling, a media company comprised of a website, podcast, mobile app, and professional resources. Jackie holds a master's degree in broadcast journalism and is a former television news reporter and features reporter and writer for the Chicago Tribune. Her syndicated weekly column, Love Essentially, was published in the Pioneer Press, the Chicago Tribune, and all Tribune publishing editions for 6.5 years. Jackie was also a Huffington Post divorce blogger for 5 years. Jackie, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Karen. I always enjoy talking to you on and off camera.
And the same goes for me too. And I wanted to have this very special edition, and I wanted to say thank you for agreeing to have a podcast that's going to come out on Christmas. Now, it's not Christmas today, full disclosure, but I thought we could have a really good conversation about what it's like to get divorced either during the holidays or maybe people are alone on Christmas, and not just Christmas, but there's New Year's, there's Easter, there's Valentine's Day, there's all, the holidays, and that can be a really tough time to go through a divorce. And you wrote an article, and I just have to say, I love the title. I love it. Let me make sure I get it exactly right now. It's going through a divorce during the holidays can feel like a punch in the stomach. And that just kind of says it all. So let's start with people who are going through a divorce during the holidays, right? And it may be the first time that they're not going to be with their kids, or they're not going to be with their kids for the whole holiday. So what kind of tips can you share with people, like if who have children, they're going through a divorce, this just doesn't look like it's going to be a good holiday? What can they do? How can you help them?
So I guess the best way for me to start is with my own story. So I got separated in August. So, that wasn't like a lot of time. So when Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's came around, it was still extremely fresh. And Christmas Day, my ex had the kids and came and picked them up and took them away for the whole night and day of Christmas Eve and Christmas. And, I don't celebrate Christmas. Well, I did when I was married with him, but I didn't. So you would think, like, oh, that's okay. It wasn't a big deal. It was a huge deal. It was depressing, lonely. I felt like a loser. I didn't want to go anywhere, isolated. And looking back, I think everyone has the right to feel those feelings, but there's so much more. I think you and I, Karen, can really help because if you choose to look at it in the right way, you're going to be just fine. And I was just fine. And I spent several more Christmases alone. And I really was not depressed. I don't remember those Christmases as being really sad or awful or, I was crying all day. Not at all.
What about people? Because somebody says, okay, it's easy to say, don't be depressed, but they feel bad, they're all alone. What kinds of things could they do on a holiday? I know right now, like when people are listening to this, it's going to be Christmas, so it's a little late to plan ahead, which is a piece of advice I always give to people. It's like,
Mhm.
plan ahead. Christmas is coming. Try to have something for yourself to do, right? But let's say it's Christmas or, Easter or Thanksgiving or any holiday, and you're all by yourself. What could you do to make yourself feel better
Well, what time is this podcast dropping?
on Christmas Day?
Right, like what time?
Oh, I don't like 10:30.
Okay, so the reason I asked is there's still time to plan. If you're listening to this in the morning or the afternoon, like I know you could sit down and just think, like, what do I want to do today? Like, the whole attitude should be like, you know what? I don't have to work. There's something beautiful about Christmas and the holidays, and it's just like a really holy day. Christmas is all about giving and love and and so really try to go there and give yourself a little break from your divorce. Like say, you know what, today this is all about the spirit of the holiday, about giving, about miracles, about God, whatever it means to you.
Yeah.
And then say, I can do anything I want. I can go to the grocery store and get a bunch of ingredients and make or bake something. I can take a bath and get some candles out and sit in there as long as I want. I can clean out. One year I cleaned out my entire basement. And then I was like, oh my gosh, it's already 10 o'clock at night. And I felt so productive and I was having a good time because when you clean stuff out, you see all these like other memories and art projects of the kids. It was very fun for me. So you can find something to do around your house, or you can say, I'm going to go on a 30-minute walk really fast. It's good for you physically, it's good for your emotional health. It will help you just be more spiritual and really think and clear your head. So you could go outside. You could call a friend who you also know is single and say, hey, it's only noon. Do you want to get together for dinner? Come over. We'll order Chinese or make something or whatever. So, I mean, I could just go on, but you don't have to just say, oh, this is a wash. I'm going to lay in bed and cry all day. But if you want to lay in bed and cry for like a few minutes, do it.
Yeah, I think I love the way you pull things out that even if it's 10:30 in the morning on Christmas Day, that's not too late. You can still plan. It all depends on your mindset. And are you looking for some way to make yourself feel better, or are you just looking to make yourself feel miserable all day long? Because we both know you can do that if that's what you want to do, but at the end of the day, you're just going to feel terrible.
And I know this for sure. For people listening, it's Christmas Day. You're going to wake up tomorrow and you're going to be like, wow, that wasn't that bad. You're not going to wake up and go, that was the worst day of my life. There's no way. You know what the worst day of your life was? When your ex did something to you, or you knew you were getting divorced, or you got in a huge fight. Those were bad days. This is a beautiful, peaceful day. And as long as you know your kids are safe and healthy with your ex and you're not worried about them, it's all good.
Well, okay, let me tell let's take that example about the kids. What if you and your ex, it's Christmas Day, and you're still fighting about when does he bring the kids back, or when does she pick the kids up, or when do, whatever. You're still fighting about the schedule on Christmas Day. What then? You can say, well, my ex just ruined Christmas for me and the kids. What do you do when you're in that situation?
You declare a ceasefire for Christmas Day. You just have to. That's it. It's a ceasefire. Nobody don't let your ex envelop your thoughts on Christmas Day. Get out of that mindset just for today. You can go back to it tomorrow if you want, but for today, this is Christmas. Just take a break and think of all the wonderful people in your life. Make a list. Sit down and write down a list of everyone who means something to you and why. Like, do that. You'll feel so much better. Put on Christmas music. I would bake cookies, listen to Christmas music, and then when your kids get home, you can be like, look what mom baked. And you can celebrate Christmas with your kids, by the way, when they get home or before they leave. There are no rules. The kids aren't never going to remember that it wasn't actually Christmas Day that you celebrated with them.
Yeah, that's true. That is such a good point. And if there's so many things that you can do if you let yourself think about it. And I love that you said, get out, take a walk, get out if you can get out into nature, that's so much better. But when you're physically active, when you're exercising, even if it's just walking, it changes your state. It changes your blood flow, you're breathing deeper. All of a sudden, you will feel better. You can't wallow and be miserable when you're moving,
Okay, I
right?
have another great idea. Google, if it's Christmas Day and you're on your computer, Google like volunteer opportunities in blank, your town. Maybe there's some soup kitchen or somewhere where they need you, or somewhere even you can give a monetary donation, or you can walk over with some cans of soup or anything. If you give back, especially on Christmas, you are going to be so happy and feel so good that your divorce won't even mean any, like you'll just not even think about it because you will feel so wonderful for giving back. So volunteering is a good thing. And if you can plan ahead for the next holiday
Mhm.
that you're dreading and you volunteer, that's a really powerful way to feel good about a holiday.
I agree with that completely. I mean, I think it's a gratitude is always a game changer, and so is giving back. That you see, not just because you see, oh, they have it worse than me, although that's part of it, but you feel a connection to people. You feel like you're doing something for another human. It's a beautiful way. And what I love about this conversation is that you're saying, because so many people would say, oh, it's too late. It's too late, it's 10 o'clock already or 11 o'clock in the morning. What can I do now? But there's probably a lot that you can still do.
Yeah. Yeah. If you go on Facebook, like your community groups and stuff like that, you might find a volunteer opportunity and go on over there with some soup cans. I'm telling you, you'll feel great.
Or even if you don't find the volunteer opportunity, to your point, going on a Facebook group will help you see there are a lot of other people who are
Tons.
alone, you know? And you can, so if you, even if your volunteer opportunity, it doesn't have to be something official. So maybe they're in, like in your group, in the Divorced Girl Smiling Facebook group, right? And there's somebody else that's saying, hey, I'm feeling down. It's the holidays. If you can write something to that person and help bring them up, you're going to feel better about yourself too. And both of you are going to have a better day.
And that is such a good point, Karen. And I had something on the tip of my tongue, and now I completely just spaced what I was going to say. Move on. I'll think of it in a minute.
But okay, so those are all the kinds of things that you can do on a holiday or planning for a holiday. What about the guilt that you feel? Like, oh my gosh, I've ruined my kids' Christmas or
I
holidays.
remembered what I was going to say because you said that. Okay. Think about this. 50% of the country is divorced. If you believe those statistics or whatever, even if it was like 40%, which is higher. That means that 50% of the population who's divorced is spending Christmas without their kids. So when you said there's so many other people who are alone, there you go.
Yeah.
It's so many.
Yeah, it's a ton of people, but how do you, if you're a parent, how do you deal with the guilt when, the voice in your head is saying you're not together as a family because maybe you're the one who decided to divorce, or, you've, even if it wasn't your decision, you've ruined your children's holidays for the rest of their life and blah, 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 and you just feel so bad about yourself. What would
Well,
you say to that person?
Well, you ask yourself, are my kids better off not having both their parents on Christmas? Or would they rather have both their parents, but then the other 364 days out of the year, their parents are fighting, they don't see any love, they know that dad and mom is cheating, whatever the reason is, you're getting divorced. Kids feel it, even if they don't know, they deep down know, or they will know someday. And so it's one day, and kids don't remember that they spent the holidays apart. What they remember is that kids are very, I think, because I have two kids, not like I'm a therapist or anything, but like my kids have a are 21 and 23. And growing up, they were always with their dad because he celebrates Christmas and I don't. But they always remember, like in their minds, it's like Thanksgiving, we're always with mom and her family. Christmas, we're always with dad and his family. These kids are very happy. They feel very loved by both parents. And believe me when I tell you, they would be a lot worse off if their parents stayed together. Believe me when I say
Yeah.
that.
And there's something to be said for getting double sets of presents, double celebrations. We have a tendency to focus on all the negative ways that divorce will impact our children, but there are positives too. I'm sure you saw that with your kids, growing up.
Absolutely. And they get double the love too. Like because there's less people.
Yeah,
So like I know my kids are a huge center of attention at my ex's family's house, and then they're the huge center of attention at mine. And so listen, the kids are going to do great. And if you in your heart know that this divorce is really what should be and is the best thing. There's nothing to feel guilty about. But let's shift to Karen, people who are listening to this who were blindsided and were left. What do you
yeah,
do about them? Like, how would they feel? Uh,
yeah. That's, the people who their spouse left them. And are you talking about people who have their kids with them? Or
or maybe their spouse left them and he has the kids for the holidays.
because those are two separate circumstances,
Mhm.
right? So if you've got your kids and let's say your spouse just up and left and you and the kids are alone, then I think as a parent, you you have a responsibility to try to make the best of it for your kids. Even if you feel like wallowing up into a little ball, curling up in a ball in the bed, you can't do that. Get up, put on your game face, and there's so many things that you can do with kids to have fun. Different things, play games, watch movies, go for a walk. Like there's all kinds of things.
I couldn't agree more, and I really believe that you don't have to fake it. Like, yeah, you got to put on your game face, but once you start putting on your game face and sort of faking it, it turns into real happiness. Because think about it. Who isn't happy when they're around kids and Christmas? So,
Yeah.
of course, you're going to be happy. So, yes, maybe what you just need is a starter. But what about if you're home alone and your spouse left? What do you say to those people?
What I say to those people initially is don't wait till Christmas, okay? Make a plan beforehand and figure out something that you like to do. I know, for example, Jackie, you wrote an article about the importance of self-care during the holidays, right? And self-care, we all think, candles and bubble baths, or at least women think candles and bubble baths, right? But there's more to it than that. There's taking care of your physical self, like we said, getting out, getting some exercise, moving. There's your emotional well-being. There's so much involved with taking care of yourself. So if you can make a plan to do something fun, something maybe that you haven't done in a long time, like for example, I love to read, right? And I don't always get a chance to read. Well, go buy that guilty pleasure novel that you've been wanting to read. And what's wrong with sitting home, opening the book, and just spending the day reading if that's something that gives you joy, right? And even if you didn't plan it in advance, if you've got a book laying around, if there's a movie you want to watch, if there's whatever, something that you like doing, go do that. It's not, I love that you say it's never too late. What would you say to people who, they're all alone, they maybe didn't make a plan and they know, okay, I should have, but now they're in the soup, so to speak. What could they do to pull out the day and I know it's a cliche to make lemonade from lemons, but you get the idea.
Oh, one word, Netflix. But I'm a big movie person. I love shows and movies, and they take me away, and I'm captivated. And really, if anybody wants to know what to watch, I mean, just email me, because I've seen everything. I'm like hooked. It's my decompression, escape from life and everything going on. And I truly have found so much enjoyment. And I like being bored and watching Netflix shows.
Yeah,
But
there's nothing
another
wrong.
thing is like you could watch It's a Wonderful Life. How I could watch that movie and probably have every Christmas for my since I can remember.
I totally love watching the old Christmas movies, like the ones that were out when I was a kid, right? And I'm not going to say what they are because that will totally date me. But I mean, the
Oh,
point.
It's a Wonderful Life was way before our time.
Yes, yes, that's true. It was even older than I am. But it's like get those the classics, right? Something with Bing Crosby or like I don't remember the names of these movies, but some Christmas special that you liked when you were a kid, or watch The Grinch, or what like something that makes you laugh.
Hmm.
Anything that brings you back to a different place and time, and you can but use it and get into the movie. Don't use it as an opportunity to say, "Oh, I remember I used to watch this one." Like that's
Right.
not, we don't want to go there.
But sometimes like good, ugly crying is good. Like you can watch a show and just be like, just start sobbing and it feels so good. And there's a difference between crying because you're sad and crying because you're emotional. I mean, I love happy, ugly crying. I do. And
Yeah, when
maybe those shows like will give you the emotion of when you were young and you had great parents and it was a happy time and it's okay to cry for that reason.
yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes when you get that, you're crying so much you've got and you can't catch your breath, you got the woofies, that there's nothing wrong with that when you're crying about whatever's going on in the screen, and it can be cathartic. It like gets it out of your system if that feels bad good to you in the moment, right? But what you don't want to do is spend the day wallowing crying because that doesn't feel good on any
Right.
level, right?
I just thought of another thing that you could do, not today because it's too late, but for other holidays, offer to watch your friend's dog. Okay, because I'm telling you, there is nothing that takes away loneliness more than a dog. And you could just maybe your friend's going somewhere for the whole day and the dog's going to be home alone. Say, bring her over to my house. You
Yep.
will have so much fun. You'll feel so loved. You will not feel alone. You can sit and snuggle.
I love that. You can go for a walk with the
Mhm.
dog. You can totally spoil the dog because it's not your dog. And if
Right.
if it's not allowed on the furniture at home, you're going to be the dog's new best friend. It's going to think that it's scored with you,
Yes,
snuggling up on the
definitely.
couch.
Hmm.
But let's talk about another holiday, a holiday that can actually be a good holiday if you're going through a divorce or any kind of major life change, and that's New Year's Day. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. You wrote an article about this too, about why New Year's can actually be a good day if you're going through a divorce. Let's talk about that. Why is New Year's different?
Well, New Year's is like all of these holidays we're talking about when you get divorced, they're like a first. Your first Christmas, your first Valentine's Day, your first Mother's Day, your first birthday, whatever. But New Year's is always, of course, it's going to be a first, but it's always like a new beginning. It's like you get to start over a new year and you leave behind all of the crap that happened the year before and you get to make a new start. It's a new, and new is like the key word. And so I I just pulled up the article and I think it's really funny because I actually had a string of like New Year's where like bad stuff happened to me. Like
Oh,
like one time I got a call and I thought I was getting a job offer and it was a guy telling me I wasn't getting the job.
ouch.
I also had a miscarriage on New Year's Eve
Oh
day.
my God. That's
And then I also had a huge accident at my gym. I forgot about this and broke my wrist on New Year's Eve. So, during the day.
oh
So,
my
I don't
gosh.
know, but I've had many, many more good New Year's Eves than I've had bad. But I wrote it in the article so that people would say, like, wow, maybe my life isn't really that bad.
Yeah, I had a friend who I think it was 3 years in a row because look, let's face it, New Year's Eve, all the crazy drivers are out. I don't know if you've ever driven on New Year's Eve, like, but
Never. I
oh,
never
I've
go
been
out.
in downtown Chicago driving on New Year's Eve. That is this, like, I don't know what I was thinking. It was the dumbest idea ever. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and people are like just walking out in front of traffic and everybody's drunk. It was horrible, right? It's like you've got to be so careful. But I had a friend who 3 years in a row, she went out on New Year's Eve and 3 years in a row, she got in accidents that totally were not
Really?
her fault. Yeah, I mean, they weren't bad, but still, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's New Year's Eve. It's freezing cold. You're in an accident. You're waiting for like, who wants that, right? So,
I
no.
would never have gone out after the first accident.
Well, after the third one, she called it quits. She's like, no, 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 no. You want New Year's Eve parties? You come to my house. I'm done, right? And I give so the point is New Year's Eve isn't necessarily all it's cracked up to be. Sometimes being home by yourself, safe and warm in your house, with food that you like, and you don't have to impress anybody, and you don't have to wear that tall high heels where your feet are killing you. It's not a bad thing.
Absolutely. I never go out on New Year's. I mean, if I do, it's like a really early dinner, but we always try to do something a little special just to celebrate, whether it's ordering from a really fancy place or cooking something really fancy, or playing games like those cute little card games you can play that are, by the way, absolutely hysterical. Oh, and I just forgot last New Year's I had COVID. So, so
Oh.
hopefully this New Year's I'll be able to do something.
Yeah,
Um,
hopefully you will. God, that's
but
terrible.
New Year's really is the a great holiday if you're getting divorced because it's that newness. You can say, okay, nothing can be worse than this past year.
Right. And the year is behind you now. That past year
Right.
is gone. You're starting all fresh.
Right. And you get to make resolutions, of course, and that could be anything during divorce, like, I'm not gonna badmouth my ex to everybody so much. Like, maybe you're telling all your friends and family and just talking crap about your ex, and maybe you're thinking, I'm better than that. I don't want to do that anymore. What a great resolution that is, because it's so much better for you if you just remove yourself from that toxicity.
I couldn't agree more. And what I like about New Year's is that it's a time for introspection, right? It's the time when you're allowed to sit down and say, okay, what do I want next year to look like? What do I want? In our society, we run from busy to busy to busy to thing to thing to thing, and we don't sit down and take time to think. And New Year's is almost a time where you can give yourself permission to do that and to make those resolutions, or if you don't want to call them resolutions, call them whatever you want, call it chopped liver for all it matters. Just but sit down and think about what kind of a life do I want to create for myself in the next year? And that can be inspiring, that can be exciting, that can be a really good thing, right?
Mhm, mhm. I really think that when the holidays are over, people are almost relieved. You know how you're just kind of like, okay, I'm ready to be more productive again.
Yeah.
Everyone just sort of, works and eats a lot and doesn't go to the gym. And there's something so nice about, like, hey, it's like January 2nd. Let's get back into it.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. I'm a little nutty though that way because I love what I do and I know you do too. So going back to work is actually a good thing, not a
I
bad
actually
thing.
don't even like weekends anymore. That's how much I love working.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, like, sometimes I'm really happy that it's Monday morning, you
Yeah.
know? So I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I do. I work a lot and no apologies for it. Because this is what I enjoy, but and if you it's If it's not what you enjoy, then maybe your New Year's resolution for the next year is to get a new job, to create a different business, to find something that does give you joy.
Well, and that is a great tip for those home alone on Christmas or other holidays. What do you love to do? For me, it was writing. I wrote half a novel one Christmas. I was just typing away, writing, because that's what I like to do. Maybe you like doing some kind of like a craft project. Maybe you make something. Look at Christmas as your day to get to do that all day with no interruptions.
Yeah. You just, and especially if you're alone, if your kids aren't there, you can make a big old mess and there's nobody to, to complain about it. There's nobody to mess it up for you. You can put all your stuff in whatever order you want to put it in to do, like, because I like to craft too. And I just made the coolest thing. But anyways, um, so to give yourself permission to do that, but that does you've either got to be a crafter and you've got like stuff at home all the time, or you have to plan ahead a little bit and get the stuff to make the project. But I think the point is for anybody who's out there listening, um, there's 1,000 things that you can do. There are so many ways that you can make yourself feel better during the holidays, but you got to get out and do something, right? You can't, it's not going to just happen if you sit and you feel sorry for yourself.
100%. You got to do. But you don't have to go all day, but you can't just sit home and think about how hard life is because that's not productive for you. You deserve better than that.
Absolutely. And life will get better. I mean, what I like about so many of the articles that you've written is that you say the hard stuff you've already done. The hard stuff, you're putting it behind you now. Everything is going to get better. Look with hope and to the future rather than focusing on what you lost in the past.
And maybe you're thinking, well, this year's horrible. I'm going through a divorce. But maybe if you look at last year or the year before, you'll be like, I was so miserable in my marriage. At least you're on your way to happiness.
That's true. That's a very good point. Jackie, thank you so much for being here and talking on Christmas Day. I mean, I know we're not really talking on Christmas Day, but it's going to, for the rest of the world, this is coming out on Christmas Day. And I really hope people listen and, all the tips that we talked about today aren't just about Christmas. I mean, that's the big holiday, but it's New Year's, it's Valentine's Day, it's any holiday that's important to you. So with that in mind, Jackie, are there any other pearls of wisdom you care to share with the audience?
Just be healthy, be happy, try to appreciate what you have, hug those kids, and know that next year the picture is going to look a lot different.
Yes. And I can't think of a better way to end than on that note. So, Jackie, thank you so much. I really appreciate your being here.
It is
And
absolutely my pleasure.
tell our listeners if they want to learn more about you, where's the best place to find you?
The best place is divorcedgirlsmiling.com. That will take you to my list of trusted, vetted divorce professionals, including Karen, and to podcasts, articles, and you can sign up for my free consult.
Yeah, you've got anyone who is thinking about a divorce or even going through a divorce, even after a divorce, there is so much on Jackie's website. You have so many resources, and it's a great place for anybody who's had anything to do with divorce to check out. So I really encourage anyone who's watching, anyone who's listening to do that. For those of you who are listening on Christmas, have a very Merry Christmas, a wonderful New Year. And I look forward to talking to you all again next time.